All right, in this interview, I sit down with the one and only Cody Garbrandt, the former bantamweight champion. Of course, in 2016, he had an incredible performance against Dominic Cruz. Then he kind of lost a few. He was supposed to fight at the weekend at UFC 292, but sadly had to withdraw. Today, we talk about all kinds of things. We talk about the ups and downs, the emotional journey that he's been on, how he took care of a young man called Maddox, how he inspired him to continue with his chemotherapy and helped him beat his battle against leukemia. It's an incredible interview, and Cody Garbrandt, very, very honest as always. Check it out. All right.
What's up, guys? Sorry. Should I vertical or horizontal?
That's perfect. You look good to me there, brother.
All right, cool. I tried to download on my where I have a MacBook. It took too long, brother. So I just got
No, you look good, sharp, crystal clear. I mean, Chito Vera jumps on. You think he'd know. He's been on here about 4 times, right? Because we got the same coach. Every time, bro, the connection, he's on the phone, he's walking around, he's breaking up. You look fucking crisp, you look golden.
In my office, I'm trying to add to my bookshelf, but that'll come.
Yeah. How's life, Cody? I know you had a disappointing turn of events, having to pull out of the fight.
It was tough, man. Since I moved out to Vegas, I've been, just trying to catch a rhythm, new coaches, teammates. I was supposed to fight Yaya twice. He pulled out, and I ended up having surgery after the second fight. This last fight, same thing. I got injections 5 days before the fight on my neck. I had 3 herniated discs. That was happening in the Kai Kara France fight camp. Didn't know. Got out here and, got through that fight and then, tried to make it to July. I was supposed to fight July. I had to push the fight back from Mario. I ended up tearing my knee. And then I literally think that when I came back that month and a half later after the rehab of the knee, I had like a soleus tear. I was sparring Farid Rasharat and threw this stupid-ass question mark kick for no reason. Never throw kicks like that. He was throwing flashy kicks. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to mirror. I'm going to throw something cool. Threw that shit, and I feel like I tore my hip. And it's been battling that ever since. But my back was the worst. I got injections 3.5 weeks ago. Managed, I've been compromised all camp. I finally just got my hip MRI'd on Wednesday because I pulled out the fight. I'm like, I'm going to check everything out, get everything set up. We're going to, heal and come back. End up tearing my hip as well with the back. So that's where I'm at now. I just got done speaking to Ali. He's supposed to, get me into some, good, doctors.
Stem cells.
Well, we're going to go to Columbia and do that. I have a call on Thursday morning with them to go to BioAccelerator.
Yeah.
So go to that. Me and Lance fly out Friday to Russia. He's going to fight in ACA, Lance Palmer. He's in the quarterfinal fight. So he literally had no one to go with him out there to camp. He's helped me out a lot since my career started. I followed him to Alpha Male. Now he's out here doing his camps in Vegas. So we leave to Russia to go. He fights September 2nd. So going to go out there and, help him out, corner him. Hopefully gets the big win. He's looking good. So, and after that, it's back to, the docks and seeing what we can do to get back in there. So like I said, life's on that, I guess a career standpoint is, it's in limbo because, the injuries, the setbacks. But, that's how we deal with it. We just bounce back and do what we can. But other than that, man, my life's good. My son started kindergarten. This is his 3rd week. He's loving it. So on that standpoint, it's been nice. It's been good.
Nice. Good. What's your son's name again?
Kai.
And how old is he?
He's 5.5 now.
No way.
5.5 going on 25.
That's amazing, man. Congrats. And that's all that matters in life. That's the real important stuff. But I'm just looking at your age there, 32. And it sounds like the body, like, the injuries and things like that. It sounds like you've really struggled over the years, Cody.
It has been. I think that for me, and you can probably, contest to this as well. I mean, we identify this is what we do. This is our therapy. This is what we go to clear our head. We have something on our heart or on our mind. We go to the gym and work it out until that's out of our mind, and we go home and we're satisfied with ourselves as humans because we put in that work of paying the rent daily, as a lot of people call it. So for sure, it's something that I've always had, the gym. When I was growing up, with coming to the gym, that sometimes I walked, I crawled. I always had that gym. I had that boxing gym that my uncle always had. And sometimes I needed that gym more than it needed me, and that's kind of always the case. So being able to go out there and just kind of like throw your worries and your thoughts and stuff, you can go in the gym and just let loose and be yourself. So I think that's what I do. I just, maybe overtrain a lot, but it's hard to say what's overtraining, what's undertraining in this sport because it's evolving so much. There's new studies, there's rest days, there's heart rates, and you're trying to figure it out. Trying to figure out each fight camp's different because you have a different adversary that faces you different challenges, whether they're a grappler, a wrestler, or whether they have come in great conditioning shape. You never know until you step in there, and you have to prepare yourself for every devil that you're going to face. Going in there, so you know how it is. I'm just hopefully that. I remember I tore my back right after I won the Cruz fight. I was on Ultimate Fighter coaching that and tore it. And then the UFC sent me to Germany. I got some regenokine therapy, and that's the only thing that really helped out a lot. I did stem cells. I did, injections. Actually, before we fought in Madison Square, my back I couldn't even walk. So it was about 10 days before the UFC flew me out. And a lot of people don't know this. Flew me out 10 days prior to the fight, and I got 8 epidural shots before the TJ fight, and flew across country to New York. And as everyone knows, that's how it goes. But I promised myself from that fight moving forward that I wouldn't go into the fight if something happened like that, and I would just compromise all camp. I felt great. It was about 5 weeks out. I kind of started feeling, not so good, but it's the peaks and valleys of the fight camp. You're not going to feel good every day, every week. It was about a month out. I ended up tearing my back again. Got MRI. They went and gave me injections in the back, and honestly, it didn't. I've had so many injections, so many. Cortisone shots, steroid shots in your back to help numb it and just get to the fight. So I was just get to the fight and we'll fix it after. Well, I sat back and really thought about it, and each day passed. I was like, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. The injections are going to set in. They're going to be fine. And then until it was, about the week before the fight, my back went out 3 different times to where I was Monday. And Tuesday I had to just do recovery. I couldn't do anything. And then Wednesday, get back to MMA wrestling, then I'd be shot. Thursday was done. And after the Friday's practice, we did MMA, kickboxing, the whole up, down, and getting the heart rate ready. It was supposed to be the last kind of MMA practice. And I just literally got in my car, drove to my son's school to pick him up, and I literally couldn't get out of the car to get him into his car seat. And that's when I called Ali, and I said, this isn't good. We've been bad out with it, very unfortunate. I hate pulling out of fights, but I'm glad that they got a replacement with Mario. And
right. But by what you're saying, you had no choice. It's not like you were bitching out. You know what I mean? You couldn't even get out of your car for crying out loud. Watching that though, Saturday night there was a big spotlight on the bantamweight division. Of course, Cheeto was on there, and Pedro. There was your fight, and obviously there was a replacement, the main event as well. Is it hard as a guy? I mean, you go back to 2016, Cody, you were the man. I mean, that fight you had against Dominic Cruz, who was in his prime as well, let's point that out. That was one of the very best performances that we'll ever see in the octagon. I mean, that was beautiful, right? And as everyone knows, right? Is it hard now because you've been at that level? And then, you had the big fights with TJ Dillashaw. We shared the card at Madison Square Garden. And then now you're 32 years old. The body, the injuries, you're having to pull out. And then you're seeing guys like O'Malley becoming massive stars. Is that hard for you to watch?
It's not. I truly believe that a lot of my best performances are ahead of me. I just have to, get the body right. Once my body's right, mentally, physically, emotionally, I love this. I truly do. It's the best job I ever had. It truly is. But, I'm happy for those guys. I'm happy for, Sugar Sean to finally get out there and, he had a lot of hype, and he went out there and he rose to the occasion and put away Aljamain. Looking at that fight, I just think that Aljamain was just too adamant on getting it to the ground. He wasn't very comfortable with the movement. I have the best footwork and movement in the whole bantamweight division, and I knew that was going to be a problem, being on the bigger cage, being a wrestler, and the way that, Sugar Sean's a counter striker, and he lunged in, left himself open, and you can't do that on a good counter striker. He knows what Aljamain's game plan was, is get to the ground, wrestle him. And, Sugar Sean was like, I'm literally going to fight tooth and nail and not get taken down. And, Aljamain made a costly mistake that made him lose the title. But like I said, I'm happy for Sugar Sean. I think it's great. He's a champion in our division. I think he has a lot of holes and weaknesses that are going to be exposed a lot. But right now, let him enjoy the championship and what he was able to do on Saturday night.
Yeah, no, listen, you can't hate on that. I mean, what he did was phenomenal. Knocks out Aljamain Sterling. Well, TKOs him like that. Sensational. Don't want to bring up old stories or old things that are going to piss you off, but TJ Dillashaw, right? You have a lot of history with this man. Of course, now he's retired. So many injuries. The shoulder blew out when he fought. Who was it? Well, it was Aljamain Sterling.
Yep.
How is you probably don't have a relationship, but yeah, for want of a better word, how is the relationship between you and TJ these days?
Honestly, I don't communicate with him, don't have him. I think he has me blocked on every platform.
We were just talking about that. I block anyone on Twitter. Anyone that talks shit, I block them. Are you the same way? I mean, because people call me
I like to mute them. I like to mute them because they still follow you, still see your shit, so I just mute them. Hit the mute button.
So it's like torture for them because they can't interact.
They can't interact, but they still see your shit, and it's like, man, so I hit the mute button. That's a great feature.
I'm doing that. I don't get on
Twitter too much. Twitter's kind of, I get on almost just during the fights to see what everyone's saying and talk a little shit, of a fight that I want. But yeah, he has me blocked and everything. But talking about that, man, Dom. He actually had me blocked since 2016 on Instagram and Twitter, and we ran into each other at the U.S. Open, and we spoke numerous amounts of times, in the past few years. Actually, when I fought, who did he fight? He fought Pedro, and I fought Kai on the December card. We sat at the ceremony weigh-ins and talked for an hour about life and just things. So he ended up unblocking me from Instagram. So that was pretty cool. But I don't know if TJ will. I don't have any animosity, anger, or hatred for him. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like I said, I've been saying that since we fought. What he was about, and who he truly is, and everything comes to light. So I hope he's happy in life. He's got children. Hope that he learned from his mistakes, and he's healing, and he's just living a good life. That's it. That's all I can, wish for and ask for from him. I don't have any anger or, maybe when I was a young kid, when I was younger, I was 25, 26 years old, I mean? I had everything going on, and I was young, now I have a child.
The maturity of this man, 32 years old now, and you're like a Zen master. You're all nice and calm, and no negativity, no ill will.
Man, it's tough to carry that around. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough to just carry all that, I guess we would call it hatred or anger, and that stems over to everything. It's hard to take that hat off. I propped, Henry and Colby, all those guys. They can stay in that persona all the time. Like, it's hard to do. It's hard to do, and I just like to be myself. We had our moments. We had, we were fighting each other, and that chapter's over with, and then this is too. When this career is done, we're gonna do other, hopefully I find other passions that make me happy, get me up every day, and motivated to do them. Obviously, being a father is, is one of the best things outside of anything. I think waking up and just, being a father, especially my son being 5 years old, the conversations that we have and the things that we get to do. Last night, he was wired up, and I get him back. His mother and I are split, so we do week on, week off. And, it's first couple of days, I don't know what goes on at his mom's house, but, Dad runs a pretty strict program here. I'm kind of, regimented in that. So we're in bed, and he's like, Dad, I want to box. I want to fight. I'm like, all right, okay, he wants to fight, we have a straight combo, we do 1-2, and then he rules, and then he slips my punch and comes back with, 3 punches. I said, and we added up, two punches, 3 punches, 4 punches. And he's, let's do it 100 times. And I'm not kidding you, he literally wanted to do that combo 100 times that night. Yeah, so it's cool, it's fun. It's fun. I just do a little bit of things with him. Get him in a little bit of wrestling, a little boxing. But, man, honestly, those moments, that far and in between from fight camp, and then as we're so busy going in the gym and focusing on our career, having those little bit of time with him to just show him my passion and see if he likes it, rubs off on him, and if he wants to pursue boxing or wrestling, I'm more than happy to be that dad that sits in the bleachers and cheers him on.
Yeah, and as you say, that's what life is all about. That's what really matters. Now, as I say, you were the champ, and then I don't need to tell you, some results didn't go your way, shall we say, right? And there was a lot of talk. I'm sure you probably saw people saying Cody should retire and all the rest of it. And you were such an aggressive fighter. You went forward and you stood there. You traded toe to toe. You had powerful hands. You had knockout power, incredible wrestling, and a lot of the time you'd get the knockout, and that's what made you such a fan favorite. Was it that style that kind of bit you in the ass, and then you responded by winning? Who was it? Trevin Jones. You get the job done. You get back to winning ways. Number one, how good did that feel? And what would be your message to people that say Cody Garbrandt should retire? He needs to hang it up. He's lost too many recently.
Obviously there's always that in your mind, like, Will I ever be as great as I was that night on December 31st, 2016? I don't think anybody will have a performance like that in their life, at all. That was one of those that I prepped for it all year. I was knocking everybody out. I finally got my call up, and just was excited for it. Excited to go on there and perform something that I dreamed of doing for so long, at 25 years old. It was great. I still feel like a lot of my best performances are ahead of me. I've grown, matured so much as a fighter, as a human, as a father. I look at the fight game a little differently than I did at 25. I'll fight anybody. That's how you are when you're first in the UFC. You're so hungry and just want to climb to the top and get those paychecks. And for me, I never even focused on the money. I just focused on I wanted to fight. And I think, obviously, like you said, knocking everybody out, how I fought made me a fan favorite. And I still fight like that, when my body is allowing it to, when I'm able to prepare the way that I need to prepare to go in there and aggressively and intelligently, break down my adversary. So those are there. A lot of people don't understand. I've had a lot of coaches since 2016, Buckles ended up, kind of just drifting away from the team. I ended up having Michael Malott, who was retired for almost 4.5 years, and he decided to come back to MMA. And looking at him now, he's crushing it in the UFC. Super happy for him. I used Mark Henry for a while, always all the way in New Jersey. So I spent time in New Jersey and California. And then, I moved here to...
But that's great. That's great going around all these different gyms and different areas, because the more you can take from this guy, take from that guy, take from this person, because, loyalty is fantastic, and I love to see that, of course, right? Loyalty's got to be respected and commended, but one guy can only show you so much for so long, you know what I mean? So you go into other places for a little bit here and there, taking as much information as you can. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I've been... for me, I'm kind of set in stone. I like the combos and the way that I fight. Little things, obviously, you can learn from, like you said, going a little bit of time. But having those, like when me and Buckles we worked that whole year. He's the head coach, and we just worked 2 times a week. And I sparred. He oversaw the sparring and other things. And a lot of other coaches, Chris Holdsworth, Danny Castillo, Uriah Faber, they helped out so much as well in preparation for training. But me and him, we had a nice flow, good style, and a lot of his style was from Master Tong. He used Master Tong.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah, Muay Thai, and then,
he was a bit of a crazy guy.
My gosh, I'd have to call and make sure that he was going to show up at every session, that I had planned, because if he went out the night before and gambled, for sure he was not.
He was a bit of a drinker, right?
He was, saying smoked cigarettes all the time, menthol.
Is he Thai? Is he
He's
Thai?
Thai. Yes.
Yeah. But that's how it is. When I've been out to
Lifestyle.
Thailand training, they would even the Thai fighters, they would rock up, shit faced, still drunk from the night before, have a monster workout session, and then fight again in a couple of days. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they don't. They're that Thai's a little bit different. You know, my son's got 25% Thai in him, so I hope you don't get that feature for sure. But yeah, you know, it was great. You know, that was a great year, and then going around and then coming here, it was a little bit different. I had to like, you know, find coaches and teammates. You know, nothing wrong. You know, I have the UFC Performance Institute. You know, very thankful for that. You know, it's a great facility to use and use the amenities there. You know, but getting the teammates and coaches that are going to show up, give you the work that you need. For me, Alpha Male, I knew what I was doing Monday through Saturday. It was time, schedule. You know, obviously you can move it around a little bit. Something where, you know, needed a different training, but I do better with structure. You know, so out here, I'm kind of like you make your own training schedule, and you know, you hope that things show up, people show up on time. So that was like a huge adjustment for me. You know, out of 16 months, I was out of the octagon. New coaches, new teammates. You know, I was supposed to fight Julio Arce. He ended up pulling out 5 weeks before the fight. He tore his ACL, unfortunately. And then Trevin Jones stepped up. We called him because I kept that fight because he was southpaw. I was training for a southpaw. So we just kept it as a southpaw. That's why we picked Trevin. And it was a good fight. You know, I was patient. You know, he didn't really do much in the fight. You know, I was waiting for him to come forward, like all the interviews he talked about how he was going to bring the fight and this and that. And he didn't really open up at all. And I like to be a counter striker as well. I'm one of the best counter strikers. I feel like, you know, hit him with some hard, quick shit, and then get on, you know, being elusive in there, and then making them come and crack him like I did with Cruz and a lot of other fights that I had. So it was just a different matchup for me. It was just you know, but it got the win at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. Because you look on paper, as a win's a win. You know, with everything that happened going up to the fight, the day of the fight, I literally couldn't have used my left arm. Almost the whole fight. I had stingers. Like I said, I got the injections 5 days before, and I had another UFC fighter that was in the same operating room, you know, as us. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, I get these all the time. He's like, this is like my third one. I'm like, third one, dude. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And he's walking in there he was pretty banged up. So I was like, all right, this makes me feel a little bit better. He had some more time than me. I had 5 days. You know, he's like, yeah, I've gotten them, you know, like 2 days before, a day before the fight, and they seem to work really well. I'm like, well, that makes me feel better, but mine really didn't at all. I remember in the shakeout, I ran this double leg down. Like, instead of knee penetrating and knee driving across, I fucking circled down, something that I didn't do all camp, that I corrected with my coach Chase Pammy, and ran it down. Dude, got the worst stinger. Couldn't use my left arm all day. I'm like, you know what? This is it. This is God testing you. See how bad you want this. You know, we have everything going on. Like, let's stay in the present. That's all we can focus on. And, you know, walking down the octagon, it was one of those things too. I'm just like,
yeah.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on in your mind?
So what is the timeline for the comeback then? Because obviously you're going to get the stem cells. I think you said you're going to go down to Colombia. When do you think you'll be stepping back in there?
Man, I would love to, you know, I'm not going to put a timeline on it. I just need to heal my body, maybe a little reset. Unfortunately, like I said, once I moved out here, this was the 5th fight camp that I had since moving to Vegas a year and a half ago. Obviously, I only fought one time. So I've been at the high, you know, sharpness, skill level, almost.
So 5 fight camps with one fight.
One fight. So that's, I think, another thing too. That's been, it's tough. I fought 4 times in 1 year in 2016, and that came at a cost later. My knee, tore my back. Kind of same thing that happened, tore my knee, now my back. Same thing that's kind of unraveling. There's something that I got to fix and do. I don't know if it's like middle week have like a nonstop recovery day where you're just doing yoga, movement, instead of just trying to, you know, redline it every day and then take that Sunday off. So, you know, I gotta like really look at my schedule, how I'm training. You know, the thing is, I'm fast, I'm quick, and I'm powerful. Very explosive, so that comes at a cost. So I have to, you know, really draw up a schedule that works for me to where I can have maybe, you know, I was looking at, you know, what Mighty Mouse Dimitri, how he trains. You know, I was talking about, He never has 3 red line days in a row. I have to look back at one of the interviews you spoke. I can just reach out to him and see what he does. But it's just different. I got to figure out how to train that will get me to the fight. That's ultimately in each fight camp. I can be ready that week. So I don't have to be sharp that whole entire time. That's something that I've always done. Like, I can fight this week, so it's hard to keep that sharpness. I want to be able to peak into fight week. And that's the thing. Keeping that 8 weeks, I usually do 10 to 12 week fight camps, maybe cut it down a little bit because I always stay in shape. Weight's never an issue for me. I eat clean, stay on my diet, or I basically, watch my, eating year round. I don't ever blow up. The biggest I get is like 62 for 35. So it's not an issue to make the weight.
So let me ask you this, and I guess we'll end on this. And again, this is no way, in any way, shape, or form, any disrespect. But there's assholes out there. You know what I'm saying? What would you say to all the goddamn fucking haters? Because I lost many times in my career and I turned it around. And you've already been a champion, but I came back and was able to become the champ at the end of my career. What would you say to anyone out there that says, hey, Cody, you got knocked out a few times, you're getting injured, you need to retire? What would your response to those people be?
That's the great thing about this sport. I have a great support system around me, and I've always told them, hey, if I starting my wards or things start going not so good for me, and that kind of mental space, or start doing some weird shit, you never know. Like, I have good people that around me that'll tell me, hey, it's time to walk away. You've done more than a lot of people in this world. You know what I mean? You and I are 1% of the world that could become a world champion. It's something that we love to do, where we came from, the obstacles, the adversity that has, been plagued the whole entire life. I can sit back and, if this was it, that was my last fight, I can sit back and be proud of myself. Obviously, being a world champion and having some, awesome performance of the nights, being able to fight in the UFC. I was a small kid from Ohio, that grew up, dirt poor, but I had a dream and courage and a heart to chase this dream, and had a lot of people along the journey that helped me. So I'm winning at life. I feel bad for those people that have to get online and come in and comment on pictures or send you DMs that you suck and you should retire, because like, what are they doing with their life? That's that's my first thing when I see that. I'm like, man, this person's super healthy. You know what I mean? So I never really pay too much attention to him, but obviously, as like, it gets in your mind. You're like, you read it, you're like, all right.
It does.
If you don't say it doesn't, you're lying to yourself, because we're just human nature. We're human, and that's how we funnel things, thoughts. It's just a thought. So when I see that coming, I just, have a good thought come in my mind. Like, look how far I've came. Look at what I'm able to do. Things I'm able to do. I'm able to put my son in a nice private school, like things that I've always wanted to dream of doing.
It was like Aljamain said Saturday night. He said words very, very similar to that. Of course, he was devastated. He lost the belt. But he said, look, listen, I've won at life. He said, where I come from, my family growing up, the situation wasn't very good. But now, things are great. I've made plenty of money. I've became champion of the world, all the rest of it. He said, I'm not feeling sorry for myself. I'm very, very blessed to be in this position. I tell you, I do want to ask you about this real quick. I apologize. I forget his name. I saw a post the other day. What was the young kid with leukemia? Maddox?
Maddox Maple. Yes.
This is the post that made me want to reach out, because you're an awesome human being, Cody. And Maddox, if people remember, they cast their mind back to when you beat Dominic Cruz. You brought him into the octagon. It was such a beautiful moment, and you handed him your belt. And he's now just started college, right?
He's a senior in high school. Yep, senior in high school.
Oh, sorry, pardon me.
Yep, no, senior in high school. Yeah, Max is from my hometown. I was an amateur. I was a teenager, and he was diagnosed with leukemia at 5 years old. I had a sister that was the same age. So my brother reached out to me and let me know, what was going on. I lived in Cleveland. I was actually up there training in Cleveland with Stipe Miocic and all those guys at Marcus Marinelli. So I didn't come home too much on the weekend. I had to get out of my hometown. And, so we did like a little charity event and had the whole town come up to support. I rocked his shirt to the fight, get all like the proceeds to him, his family, to go to like whatever they wanted to do. We developed a relationship. Once he got out of the hospital, I wanted to come meet him, give him some gloves. And then I had a sponsor that paid for him and his family to come to all my fights, from amateur all the way up to all my pro fights in Pittsburgh and Ohio. Then I got the call to the UFC. They came to every UFC fight that was there. I mean, he was just something that he looked forward to, and that's something that he agreed to do. Like his dad called me one time, and Big never really called me. Like he was always really positive going, and I mean, just had this concern in his voice. He called me one time, and he's like, "Hey, I think we're going to lose Maddox. He's not wanting to take his medication. He wants to give up." And he had like 9 or 10 months left of chemo. It was crushing it. It was about to be done taking his pills. He just said he just don't want to do it anymore. He don't want to live. And he called me. I was out at Alpha Male at the time, trying to get into the UFC. It was hard. It was tough. I was trying to get in the UFC, and this kid was, calling. His dad was calling me to help save his kid, help give him some words of encouragement to keep taking his medicine, and to fight and do that. It's the only time that I've ever had to call him in the 5.5 years that he took. That he battled the disease. Ended up calling him, FaceTiming him, and just giving him a little words of encouragement. I made a little pact with him. I said, hey, Max, listen, you make sure that you take all your medication. You fight this. You're almost there. You're almost done. And I said, I promise you, I'll make it to the UFC, and I'll take you to every fight with me. I said, when I win the world title, I'll wrap that belt around you. We'll do it together. I said, you're never going to have to go to this battle alone, and I'll never have to walk to the battle alone as well. And he said, all right, got off the phone, never once complained about taking his leukemia. 10 months later, he took his last dose of chemo August 25th. And he called me. We had a huge party. I couldn't go. Obviously, I was getting ready for a fight. And he called me and said, all right. He said, now you got to keep your end of the deal. And I thought January that year. So 7 months later, I got called to the UFC and fought, and he was there. And, we made it to the UFC, and he started, and then the UFC caught wind of our story. Actually, Sean Shelby, man, I'm so grateful for him for so many things. But he got wind of our story and was like, hey, man, I'm going to, present it to Dana and see, if he can walk you out. And, so we was able to, I said, we want to walk out for the world title shot. That's what we want to do. Like, it's his dream. It's his goal. And as nervous as I was, at the T-Mobile, was so nervous. And Max, kind of just calmly held my hand when we were walking out to the octagon. I said, you got this. And that's all I needed to be like, wow, just calm and just focused, focus on what I had to do. And then, I won that world championship, and it was great. Obviously becoming a world champion was amazing. I always believed that I could do it. But being able to give him his spotlight and just knowing that the warrior and the champion that he was in life, to go through what he went through at a young age, and to be able to, wrap that belt of, life champion around him was amazing, man. And everyone around
what a story.
It was awesome, And one thing else too, Mike, that sits with me always was when we fought together on a Madison Square Garden card, and we obviously both lost our titles that evening. Remember, I had not many people with me in the media, not many people around me, but I was doing an interview, and you came up and just told me, you said, hey, man, this is it. You said some real shit to me as I was there, because I was still obviously not all comprehending and registering what just happened. You know what I mean? You're like, you just got lost your title, and then you got to go do this media and face the words and the critics and stuff. And so I appreciate you always being real and being a stand-up guy. Both of our nights, both of our nights, you came up to me as a vet, and we lost it the same night, and I really appreciate that, and that ever sticks with me as a human that you are, to come out of your way, to say it's going to be all right, so that took this thing off a little bit. So I appreciate that. Always have.
But thank you, Cody. I mean, to be honest, it's great. It's a moment in time, being champion of the world. It's amazing. Of course it is. It's things that we're super proud of, but as you say, it doesn't last forever. The fighting career doesn't last forever. What's really important is family. Of course, we want to provide for them. And that's why we do this, you know what I mean? That's who we are at the core. But things like what you did for Maddox there, I mean, making a difference like that, inspiring people like that, that's what really matters. And I'm proud of you. I'm sure Maddox loves you and will never forget what you did for him there. And you should be proud of yourself, Cody. We'll have to say goodbye. I'll have to let you go. But thank you for joining us. Wish you all the best in recovery. Come back when you get $5. Let's jump on. We'll do it again. But Cody Garbrandt, the former champion, the man still going strong. Get the stem cells, get back in there, and we can't wait to talk to you again. Cody, you're the man.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it, man. Have a good day.
Take care, brother. All the best.
Yeah.
And there he is. Cody Garbrandt, the former champ. What a story, Harrington, that is regarding young Maddox. I'll never forget that.